A friend of mine down in Santa Fe, Danielle Jimenez, she's of Hispanic heritage, and she told me this story which she heard from her father, which he got from his abuelo, his grandfather, so it goes back a ways. Apparently, back in the old days, it was the custom for dogs to attend church, to come to Mass, along with their human masters. And this happened every week on a regular basis. And then when the men would go into the sanctuario, into the chapel, they would take their sombreros and hang them on a peg before entering the holy place. And the dogs would take off their tails, and they would also hang them on a peg before they went inside. And one day there was a fire in the church, and the men all ran out and grabbed their hats as they exited, and the dogs also ran out, but in the confusion, many of them got the wrong tail. So that is why dogs sniff each other's butts. To this day, they are looking for their own proper waggers. But after that, dogs stopped coming so regularly to religious services, except on special occasions like this, and except at special places. In Vermont, you may know, the artist Stephen Hunick created a whole dog chapel, which looks like an old-fashioned New England meeting house. It's white clapboard, and there's a little steeple, and there's stained glass windows, each featuring a dog's image with words like love and loyalty and trust in stained glass on the bottom of the windows. And the pews have dogs kneeling down at the end. And in the vestibule of the little church, the dog chapel, there are the photographs of all the beloved companions from yesteryear. One of the great sorrows of having an animal companion is that their lives are so brief compared to ours. It almost always means saying goodbye. And so I know you brought your animals here today, but almost all of us have those who are gone, but who are with us still, who we care for and remember and carry always in our hearts. And so we take a moment of prayer and reflection to remember them. And I invite you, as we do so, to place your hand upon your own heart if there is a special animal that you wish to remember. We give thanks for the animals who live close to nature, who remind us of the sanctities of birth and death, who need not trouble their lives with foreboding, who let each moment go as it passes and accept each new one as it comes with serenity and grace. Enable us to walk in beauty as they do, at one with the turning seasons, welcoming the sunrise and at peace with the sunset. And as we hallow the memory of our friends now departed who loved abundantly and were loved in their time, who gave us their affection and loyalty, let us not be anxious for tomorrow, but ask only that kindness and gratitude fill our hearts day by day into the passing years. And I'd like to teach you all a short song now. The words are in your order of service, and the tune is easy. I'll sing it through one time. And then I'll ask the male voices to join me. And after that, we'll have the women sing together, and then all of us in chorus. This is how it goes. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me your treasure. I love you so. Gentlemen. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me your treasure. I love you so. And ladies.
Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me your treasures. I love you so.
All together. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me your treasures. I love you so. It has been reported that the following addition to the book of Genesis was discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And if authentic, it would shed light on the question, where do pets come from? And Adam said, Lord, I was in the garden and you walked with me every day, and now I don't see you anymore. I'm lonesome here, and it's difficult for me to remember how much you love me. And God said, no problem. I will create a companion for you that will be with you forever and who will be a reflection of my love for you, so that you will know that I love you even when you can't see me, regardless of how childish or selfish or unlovable you may be. This new companion will accept you as you are and will love you as I do, in spite of yourself. And God created a new animal to be a companion for Adam, and it was a good animal, and God was pleased. And the new animal was pleased to be with Adam, and wagged his tail. And Adam said, but Lord, I've already named all the animals in the kingdom, and all the good names are taken, and I can't think of a name for this new animal. And God said, no problem. Because I've created this new animal to be a reflection of my love for you, his name will be a reflection of my own name, and you will call him Dog. And Dog lived with Adam and was a companion to him and loved him. And Adam was comforted, and God was pleased, and Dog was content and wagged his tail. And after a while, it came to pass that Adam's guardian angel came to the Lord and said, Lord, Lord, Adam has become filled with pride. He struts and preens like a peacock. He thinks he's worthy of adoration. Dog has indeed taught him that he's loved, but no one has taught him humility. And the Lord said, no problem. I'll create for him a companion who will be with him forever and who will see him as he is. The companion will remind him of his limitations so that he will know he is not always worthy of adoration. And God created Cat to be a companion to Adam. And Cat would not obey Adam. And when Adam gazed into Cat's eyes, he was reminded that he was not the supreme being. And Adam learned humility, and God was pleased. And Adam was greatly improved, and Cat didn't give a damn one way or the other. So, that's not really the way the Bible tells it. Closer to the old legends, it said that in the beginning, in a time before there was any time, in a place where there wasn't any space, there was just a vast mystery, a deep darkness, and a wind blowing, moving across the waters, and a voice cried out, "Let there be light." And the universe fluoresced into being with the radiance of 100 billion suns, and it was all traveling at 186,000 miles a second, and the light was good and shiny and bright, and God said, "Wow, let's make some more of this stuff." So the Creator formed all the ingredients of life. Carbon and oxygen and nitrogen formed those in the bellies of exploding stars, which along with hydrogen from the original Big Bang would become the building blocks for all of us. For all of us. And God then laid down the seas and then the valleys and forests and the hills, and He filled them all with unimaginable creatures. Elephants, tigers in the jungles of Asia, and herds of buffalo roaming the plains of the American Southwest, and flocks of birds in innumerable numbers darkening the sky in their annual migrations. And on the continental shelves formed the coral reefs, where the sea turtles were swimming and feeding in the shallow grass. And every day that God worked according to these old legends, God saw that it was good and blessed it. No single part of it was superfluous. No species was expendable or throwaway. It was all of superior quality. And then on the sixth day, according to the old myths, God made people, men and women, and gave people the green growing plants to eat, because back in those days, all beings lived in peace and harmony, and none preyed upon the others. And God looked upon this work again and blessed it, and had one last great idea: created the weekend. Took a day off. But before that, blessed the world and blessed it again, just to make sure it was doubly blessed. And this is what it means to be blessed. It's just to feel a sense of gratitude, to be alive, to take another breath, to wake up on a day like this and be a part of this wonderful world. Bless is a word that's related to bliss. And one dictionary connects them both to our English word blithe. Blithe. That's kind of like a British sounding thing, but it means, exuberant, cheerful, merry, upbeat. To be blessed, to experience a sense of bliss, is to be profoundly glad just to be part of this stupendous creation. And this is what animals teach us. They teach us about blessing, about joy, allegre, allegre, allegre. They don't need an awful lot to be happy. There's not one of them that's worried about the stock market or how their 401k is doing. There's not an animal here that's running for Congress that wants to govern the rest of the animal kingdom. There's not a creature here that brags how my religion is the best and yours is no good. There's not one that torments itself with unanswerable questions about I'm going to die someday, and then what? Because they just take each day as sufficient to itself. Take it as it comes. And none of them need passports or immigration papers or travel documents, because they do not live in a state like Texas or Arizona that cares about those kinds of things. They are living in a state of bliss. This idea that animals, come on in. This idea that animals are our soulmates. It's in the scriptures. In the book of Genesis, it says that God made Adam out of the dust of the ground, and saw that Adam was alone, kind of like our creation of pets this morning. And Eve came along later, but first God made the animals, the beasts of the field and the birds of the air, to be companions for Adam. Animals were meant to be our partners, not our possessions. As the old myths tell it, God molded Adam like a piece of clay and blew into that form the spirit of life. In Hebrew, the word for it is nefesh hayim. Nefesh hayim. Adam became a living soul. And then God created the animals out of the dust and blew into them, and the animals were also, in Hebrew, nefesh hayim. It's the same word. They were living souls, all of them together. No big distinction between the two-legged and the four-legged. The animals, they're ours to appreciate and care for and enjoy, but not to exploit or abuse. Not in my version of the Holy Writ. And I think compassion is close to the heart of every great world religion. One of my favorite stories comes from the holy book of the Hindus, the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata it's about as old as the Hebrew Bible. It's much older than the New Testament, and it's a lot longer than both of them combined. It's just this vast tale. It has stories within stories. The Bhagavad Gita is just a little part of it. It's this epic of kings and dynasties and battles and successions, but at its core, it's a story of a religious search, of pilgrimage, of a search for peace, wisdom, enlightenment, the eternal, self-realization. And that the hero of this story is named Yudhishthira. And at the very end of this incredibly long book, I'm not talking about just the last chapter, I'm talking about the very last page, Yudhishthira, our hero, comes to the end of his journey. He has reached his goal. Yudhishthira is a man pure of heart, full of integrity. He's true and honest and righteous, and he's overcome all his temptations and struggles and obstacles, and all his traveling companions, his brothers and sisters, they've all fallen by the wayside. They've been carried down by the weight of their sins and their karmic debts. But Yudhishthira makes it to the top of the highest mountain in the Himalayas, the mountain symbolizing transcendence and eternity. And Yudhishthira reaches the pinnacle, the very summit of the world, and there he finds waiting for him Indra, the king of the gods. Indra is waiting for him with a golden chariot. And Indra says to Yudhishthira, "Well done. Congratulations. You've made it all this way. You've proven yourself worthy of paradise. Yudhishthira, my good man, I have this chariot prepared for you. Climb in and we'll be on our way to heaven." But Indra says, "Yudhishthira, I notice that you brought a dog with you. And I have to tell you that we have a rule. There are no dogs allowed in heaven. Dogs are not worthy of eternity." And Yudhishthira is speechless for a moment, but then he protests. Great Lord Indra, this dog has been with me on my entire journey. He's shared all of my hardships. He's been trustworthy and faithful and strong of heart. I can't leave my dog, sitting outside the gates while we go into some kind of bliss. Leaving my dog here, this would not be compassionate. And compassion is the central teaching of the Vedas, our oldest, most sacred scriptures. And Indra says, a rule is a rule. There's no dogs allowed in heaven. And Yudhishthira has to think about it. He says, if that's the rule, you take your chariot. Indra, you go back to the land of the gods where you came from. I am renouncing my one chance at immortality. I am renouncing my hope of heaven. I'm staying right here by the side of my faithful companion, my dog. And of course, this had just been a test. This was the final trial. This was the final ordeal to see what kind of character Yudhishthira had inside. And the dog, whose name is Savana, morphs into a deity. And Savana ascends into the sky and becomes the star that we know as the dog star, Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. And Yudhishthira climbs into the chariot. He and Indra ascend into the celestial realms of perfection. So man and mutt go to heaven together. Now, it's just a story. It's a legend. It's a myth. But it has also this deeper truth, that it is in these bonds that we share with our animals. It's in these relationships of unconditional love and acceptance and loyalty and trust, and that we get just a little taste of bliss, just a little glimpse of what heaven might be like. The laying on of hands is an ancient ritual known in many religious traditions. The laying on of hands signifies the transmission of healing, of power, of spiritual gifts and blessings. And so now for our pet blessing this morning, I invite you to join in this rite, to lay your hands upon your pet, head, hindquarters, it doesn't really matter. And at my prompt to repeat these words, we bless our friends, the animals. For their slobbery kisses and their wagging tails, and for always appreciating a good belly rub, we bless our friends, the animals. For their pouncing and prancing and playing, leaping and lazing in a sunbeam, we bless our friends, the animals. For their companionship and constancy and loyalty and love, for all the beasts of the field and birds of the air, for all the creatures wild and untamed and free, for those lost or stray, those caged or confined or cruelly treated, who open their hearts in care and compassion, for the little ones, for the honeybees and the inchworms and the roly-polies, the ones who help us to see the infinite in the small, and for the grand ones, the blue whale and the brown bear and the bull elk, who fill our minds with amazement, May all beings be happy. May all beings know peace. May all beings be free from suffering. With our hearts and hands and prayers and our intentions, we bless our friends. I'd like to ask if the director